myself and why I'm interested in this. I'm interested in it largely from an energy policy standpoint. My background is in chemical engineering. I have a Ph.D. in chemical engineering, and I also worked at the U.S. Department of State for 3 years prior to returning to Wyoming. So I have a diplomatic background and an engineering background, and what I hope to do is have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and translate that experience into a real energy policy. Now, I don't mean a policy that looks forward 1 year, because we've got those, and they don't work. They clearly don't work. We need a policy that looks at every resource we have available to us. That includes oil, gas, coal. It includes wind, solar, nuclear. It includes geothermal. It includes anything we can come up with. Advanced technologies, looking for breakthroughs, looking for new opportunities and ideas. That's what we need. And we need legislation that encourages that instead of extinguishes new ideas, which tends to be the trend in the recent legislation that we've seen. And how are we going to do that? Well, what I'd like to see, more than anything else, is something along the lines of a 50-year plan. Something that is long-term, that looks ahead, that plans for all of the transitions we need. Clearly we have a problem right now where we want independence on foreign oil. We talked about Iraq, and we know that a lot of the reason that we're in Iraq isn't because we thought bin Laden was there. Or maybe we did. I hope we didn't, but he wasn't. We wanted some cheap oil. And we wanted to make sure that we could have access to cheap oil. Well, I think we all know how that works. Oil's over $120 a barrel. We don't have cheap oil. So that was a failed policy. We look at how much we spent on it. Over $1 trillion so far for this war, and over 4,000 American lives, which are much more valuable than that $1 trillion. And I want you to think about what we could get. It's true, absolutely true. I'd take those 4,000 lives back long before that $1 trillion. And I think everyone in this room would agree with that. For that $1 trillion, what could we have bought? I think everybody has a few numbers in mind of things, of education programs, of what we could have done for healthcare instead of what we've done in Iraq. But another thing is from the energy side. If we had taken all of that money and just, for example, bought coal liquefaction facilities, nothing else, coal liquefaction facilities, for only $660 billion, we could have been oil independent. That would have been enough to get us off of oil. So we would have had a $340 billion net savings and completely independent of foreign oil. You know, the numbers, when you get into the trillions, they become very big, and we can do a lot of incredible things for those numbers. But what we need, along with this policy, as we're moving forward with the technologies, we need to make sure that as we're producing and developing energy for the next generation, we keep in mind stewardship for that next generation. Now, this is essential, and this is what I see as being the real legislative side. We need to make sure that while we have advanced technologies developing, that the companies that are doing the development are on the hook, not just for the first few minutes of development, not just for when they put the hole in the ground, but for the entire life cycle of whatever that development opportunity is. And this is something we haven't done that in the past. Occasionally, in the lease, there might be a little bit of language that dictates, well, you'll have to clean this up. But with the profit margins that large oil, gas, coal, and other energy development companies are making on their development, there's a lot of room to put in guaranteed sums of money from the beginning, going into an account beforehand, so they can't get out of it, they can't bankrupt out of it, it can't be transferred, it exists from the very beginning. Set up a system like that, legislate it, mandate it, and believe me, the companies, they won't lose money. They'll still profit very nicely, I think. But what will happen also is that we will all profit, the next generations will profit, the future will profit, because we'll leave behind the same environmental quality to our children and our grandchildren as we experience right now. And I know this is of particular importance to the people of Wyoming and the people in this room. And that's what I'd really like to see from our energy policy legislation moving into the future, is this balanced approach, where we develop our energy technology across a broad range, but at the same time we do it in a very responsible manner that ensures this development will succeed in the future.